Microphone check. Microphone check. As I shift my mic over a little bit. Currently looking at Australia, specifically Western Australia and the northern. Looking at Alice Springs and far northeast South Australia as well. Some bushfire activity was reported around Perth, but those fires look to be largely contained and controlled. We'll still let them know because it's an effort to put out a blaze of those sizes. See from space, so worth looking at. Although it looks like Queensland, New South Wales, and some parts of Western Australia saw a bit of precipitation. Especially Queensland, especially in these areas. So it looks like weather was able to break out over these areas in Queensland that were seeing some fires, some bushfires. Nothing that I saw that was terribly large, but at the speed of which they could travel just a few short days is alarming. Even though the fires might not be very large, it could reach something that becomes very large. That's where the danger lies. These fires especially, because it could be low burning bushfires, grass fires. They're just rampaging around, coughing up a lot of stuff in the air. However, Western Australia is seeing really bold new wildfire activity. I say wildfire activity because bushfire, brush, all that, when it gets to the point that you see its bloom simply just by zooming in a satellite, you gotta call it something bigger. And it's moving at alarming speeds throughout Western Australia. Some parts up here still problematic around east of Broome, south. Excuse me. Right here. All that here. Fire activity here. Then you have drought. Well, drought would be. I don't need to draw the drought because I have the drought already pulled up. Now, these are the areas that southeast of Perth saw fires just recently as yesterday. Fires looked rather controlled, contained, the smoke was going up in a column, and last I checked, there didn't seem to be any fires of that nature in that area anymore. But as the fires continue their way along the coast, a lot of smoke resides over in this top area. Fires burning along here. This is where they're going to shortcut. While they were burning here, fire getting to this location might be pretty devastating. It gets more difficult to reach these areas the further out from the cities, further out from the villages and settlements there are. And this is Western Australia, you're not talking about Sydney or Brisbane population. It's a lot of people that need to come together on all these blazes all the time. It might be just as much sleeping out in open sky while they're doing this too. It's pretty alarming to see. As we did see, Queensland received quite a bit of rain. It's looking very moist, check the moisture anomaly level. As you can see, Queensland, especially the areas that Queensland needed it the most. Got a lot of rain. Some droughts still exist in New South Wales and ACT, but I don't believe they're still seeing any wildfires that far south, and this might help the efforts immensely. This moisture anomaly from the rain definitely has helped put out a number of fires that were burning at lower levels, but still difficult to access areas, kind of far off the coast of a beach, populated, hectic. Now with so much rain falling, the problem whenever the air cools, the winds drop. So there's still some risk. Western Australia, Northern Territory, some small fires that became larger fires overnight that we're going to be looking at right here, and I believe right here. Alice Springs as well, very threatened by wildfire, threatened by smoke. It's a lot of things that keep happening to Australia. The strange balancing act that half of it is cooler than the other half. You get a lot of winds that get stuck as they get trapped south. They get in these loops, but then you put smoke in these loops that just you put smoke right here in these areas that just keep going. And eventually the smoke's going to be recycling all with the air every time. The squall line forming over the ocean, that people get punished by smoke every time. So pretty much that line right there, but fortunately this is kind of drought that we're seeing. Again, I don't have to draw the drought. Now for this soil moisture level, crank it up a bit there. So it's not apocalyptic levels of dryness, but it is extremely concerning given that almost all of Western Australia's soil moisture levels is less than 1%. However, you come over to Queensland, that's where you get bigger numbers due to recent rainfalls. I was wanting to cover Australia before in the last day, but the rain projected some pretty nice precipitation. It looks like they're all lubricated. All these lands. That's great because right here were a number of wildfires burning, bumping up to the back of Brisbane, Emerald. There's still some fires that are burning up here in the North Peninsula of Queensland, but nothing too concerning, I hope. But where we're going to, again, as that just popped up, 62 moderate. Cannot trust these air quality sensors that are doing nothing for anybody in Australia. Should be more. There should be some higher up, because if Alice Springs here, population of 25,000 people, there's a lot of tourism. You want your tourists to not be passing out while they're doing a hike or doing rock climbing, valley traversing, any kind of rugged experience activity. between Darwin and Alice Springs, there's nothing. That's where all the fires have been. Except now, their fires are over the border here. Now here's the border of Western Australia. This is Northern Territory. Western Australia. Down here, South Australia. Fires are migrating, and smoke is transiting across the borders, making this difficult. We'll be able to see just how the smoke is currently, which way it's going in the wind. Right now, I don't know if wind's on the favor of Western Australia or not. Here's Will. Excuse me, sorry about that. Now, as we were saying, South Australia, up here, where we're seeing a lot of fires. Here's where we're seeing a lot of fires. Here, here, here. But these fires, they don't burn just a little bit. Some of these fires have explosive progress on the local ecology every time this happens. It's not that land of ash, fire, anything like that, because everything relies on water, and all this heat from all the wildfires, all the bushfires, dries moisture away. Evaporates it, boils it, whatever. But moisture wants to get away from heat, especially very, very incinerating heat. It would be some of these fires burning hundreds of degrees Fahrenheit. It's train from hell. Next thing you know, that in 2 days, 50 kilometers of fire just ran in one stretch, and it's coming back around again for another. Once that winds pick up the next day, and you start seeing patterns like this. You start seeing these rib-like burn marks all across these valleys. Because with the valleys and the peaks, this side is burned, still has another side. Fires can come back whenever the wind's given in favor of this and burn fuel that was left. Or if another fire is changing fuel with it as the two fronts meet, smoke mend the fires together, as the smoke will find itself, stick together, and it wants to mend itself. And by mending itself, the smoke allows the fire to move at a much faster speed than, let's say, a brush fire would normally be. But since a lot of these are including a lot of dense smoke, it also chokes out moisture, as well as the fire itself burning the nutrient-rich soil, driving all the moisture away. You get a lot of drought-stricken conditions that weren't extreme just the other day or 2 days ago. This is happening pretty quickly, especially in Western Australia, where it is massive. So we go back to drought intensity, crank it up. So what we're really looking at whenever we're talking about drought in Australia, Eastern Australia looks okay right now. They had some rain, put out hopefully a lot of fires, and gave them much needed saturation water tables. But this over in Western Australia is looking ferocious. Not just that there's active fires going right now there are. But if any of these fires were to take place and grab a hold of an area, it could be catastrophic. The amount that we're seeing that in extreme drought, several hundred square kilometers, it's massive. And you're talking about hundreds of firefighters that really just probably work to death at this point. The amount of fires that, if any of these fires at least had firefighters on them, specific individual fires, don't see the sit reps for that. I remember where I used to pull up sit reps for different fire department or different fire activity notices, PDFs. I know where it is for US and Canada. I don't remember seeing it for, because it names the fire and it gives this whole like what kind of equipment and hardware it's using. Fires and situation report. I gotta make sure to look at it because if let me look at that real quick. Okay. Okay. This is more like it. Fire incidents and warning fire watch. Okay, so it's gonna be huge no matter what, but we're looking for Queensland. Dale, information, smoke, stand, form of term of caution. Good to see that. Northern Territory. I don't know why there's nothing there. There should be plenty of activity in the territory. Queensland looking pretty good. South Australia. Yeah, so really the focus is going to be Western Australia in both that the fires that are currently burning in the areas and as well as smoke and other pollutants that are wafting over Northern Territory to Western Australia and getting stuck. That we can look up. Now the carbon monoxide levels aren't too thick because this is all getting saturated. This is all getting pulled out over the Sea of Timor, getting rolled up and rolled up and rolled up and getting spread around evenly. So it's not coming down, hopefully, on Broome, Parata, but it still is a lot of carbon monoxide in the air. Not nearly as much as it was, I think, about a week ago, where it was equivalent to breathing in with your head closed in a charcoal grill. It's not like that, but this is still remnants of a lot of those fires that have been burning for days now. Major fires burning throughout Western Australia, but a lot of them are low-lying bushfires, but the speed at which they rampage throughout the land, staggering to see, going from literally Northern Territory, Australia, for the border, it makes a run towards Broome in just 2 days. These are not small areas that we're discussing. It has to be pretty big and very easy to see from satellite. Right now, quite a few. As you can see at Alice Springs, like these fires are called burnt land right here. I would say Alice Springs is seeing some fires that are bumped right up. I do not see anything alerting that says like Alice Springs is evacuating, but there are fires currently burning, but completely stay low-lying. Been significant fires that have been burning in Northern Territory. A lot of it was. Oh my god. Lights keep stopping. Push play again. That looks like a train from hell. This right here, very, very disturbing, very active. Pretty massive. Billowing black smoke is very, very, very intimidating to see. It goes pretty high up and it gets into striation patterns, but not all smoke up there. It's weather too, clouds, but at a higher altitude than the smoke is at, that's for sure. You don't see smoke pulling away at the weather. You see the smoke, you see the weather literally just casting shadows on the smoke screen. This is some of the most smoke I've seen at one point in time in Northern Territory. It is massive. It really does look like a train from hell. Weather kind of flashes it, but it is billowing out. That's probably one of the. Make a note of that. Come look at that in higher resolution and detail. Right now, we're kind of hovering over some Northern Territory to see if we can see some of these fires close up enough. See, that's the problem with this Gulf here, is that the water is just allowing the smoke to share between states. So the smoke is not only crossing the border and transiting around, it's also transiting across all of the water that is warm enough to allow smoke to transit over itself. All the Gulfs are fairly warm, so they're going to just have all these thermal drafts that'll be perfect for all of this smoke to come wafting over. So not getting a lot of recycled air up there. It's smoke that keeps going, getting blown offshore. Let me turn on the wind. Yeah, you see these up here by Darwin. All these southern winds that whenever all this smoke reaches this way, any way to the Gulf here, it's just coming right down, back down south, Western Australia and Northern Territory. So there is still a bit of smoke that is different areas in Western Australia. Not all this is smoke. This is all right here. That's all weather. This is smoke. It's a lot up there, and it is there. That is smoke. That we can confirm by we looked at the carbon monoxide levels, looked at dust. Dust is accumulating in South Australia, on the eastern side of it, but more closer to New South Wales. Not a lot of dust that's been popping up. All these bushfires, keeping the area pretty active and clear of weather. It'll be nice when it gets some reprieve, but you can see just Every little circle is a different fire. Every circle is a different fire. Some are larger, but the larger fires weren't always large. They started out small, and with smoke mended it all together. And then it burns in these strange patterns, like this here. I think that fire is still active too. Eastern flank of this burnt scorched earth right here. You still see that active wildfire that's burning out. Don't see any fires burning elsewhere. Go check down here by Perth where there's a lot of drought. Potential wildfire. Does look like they had some burns here, here. Okay, so that's a wildfire that's burning in the probably. I don't know if the best or worst case scenario for this area, but these wildfires, they can race really fast. Let's go over now we can zoom on here. This is the last. Some of these fires, I had already marked their locations whenever I was last 30 minutes. You just zoom in on an area, and a pretty good chance when you see smoke rising in certain areas, you're going to some of the fire. This looks like a hilly valley area. It burns like a smear. Time lapse of the area so we can see how long this fire has been burning here, if more than a day. Nope, just a day. So here's the 11th. 3rd is covered, obscured by cloud coverage. The 6th, massive burns here. We'd have to look at an individual satellite that the rad little fire that's burning there. How these go? You can see the way trying to draw. There we have the perimeter right here. And the smoke isn't going straight up. The fire is lofting it. It's while the fire burns, a lot of the smoke, gases, energy all that force and power that's pushing up away from the ground is hitting the ceiling. It cannot transit any further. It'll start becoming this plume instead of being this just rising cloud of smoke. You start seeing more of these plumes, but this is dangerous here. This area right here, you already see the smoke already doing it right here. You're not getting heavy equipment out to these areas managing these plumes. These aren't being hit with high pressure cannons, causing all of these to just control the burn, control the smoke. Can't control the smoke. It's too like just impossible in some of these areas. You just have to let them burn. But you start seeing areas like this that have mainly thick black smoke, and you wonder what it hit. Besides just a huge grove or something like that, if there was fuel in the area outside of natural resources. You can see where this actually burned up each valley, each peak. Pretty significant. Panrigar community. Again, nothing until the 6th. Massive burns striking all throughout Western Australia. Some fires still burning nearby where we just were. Some of these burning. Now, this is under the clouds. You can see they're racing down. They're just racing through these valleys here. You ever want to watch fire cheat itself death? All the river systems. See, the rivers always be the same. You got night down to the water. You got a blaze that goes into the bank. You think it's going down a slope into the water. No, it's not. It's going to use its momentum and burn upright with a smile. Smoke that billows over the crop, over all the accumulated burns, especially if the water is lower. A lot more vegetation that's being revealed. The smoke drops hot, sometimes 700 degrees Fahrenheit. Particles on the other side of the river, allowing the fire to cheat death. Just allow itself to split into two as it goes over the river or the body of water. It's not completely dried out, and it'll still use the slope anyway. Let's see this area here. I'm pretty sure every area we're going to look at is going to have wildfire, that No bushfire activity until the 6th. I'm going back a full 30 days. The water, but just immediately on the 6th, explosion of activity all throughout here. It looks hot. Again, looking at multiple fires, we're tagging. Most of these fires are going to be within the last 24 hours, it looks like. Pretty big, they're not very large, but problem is they didn't exist the day before. Still burning. A lot of drought down here. Pretty massive there. You can see this smoke, the way it's textured, as each little noodle, each rib of smoke is individually being flung out with by its own momentum and force from the fire. Massive, massive burn here. You see this giant white boom. It definitely hit something big. These are all burns not too far away from Carafa. Big expansions here. One side of the other is 10 kilometers. These fires didn't exist the day before, and they're really putting out some really thick, billowing black smoke. These fires meet up, smoke mends them together, they cross over a river system, continue to burn. Real ferocious activity. It might not be, these huge tall blazes that you might see in Bolivia. Not a lot of crowning. A lot of bushes across very drought-stricken areas. Things are going to combust and things are going to burn. But the intensity of the things are burning, though, staggering. Pretty intense. I just didn't even see this fire here. Just random, okay. Pipeline access track. You'd like to see that burning on. Let's do a time lapse of the area to see just. Again, you see the drought, and then boom. That was on the 6th. Oh, I'm sorry, the 4th. Date is up here at the top right. These massive, massive black clouds of thick smoke. This is a problem area. These fires aren't going to go up by themselves. Not really hospitable to large equipment. Looks like a hydra that's spitting out of here. Like a time lapse of this area. That looks like smoke there. Smoke here, and then this isn't smoke, this is clouds. Although there's fire. Fire right here is just out of control. Fires. Look at the intensity of this, which this burns. Using false color, get a better idea of just how much. Now this is fire. This isn't data that's being transmitted to look like fire. This is a significant amount of fire activity that is burning. Is this Western Australia still? Yep. Just couple hundred thousand kilometers from Broome. But these fires, I don't know if you can see this here. Different. Try to you can see the fire here for that cloud, for all that vapor. You know what's created when water gets impacted, superheated levels, it creates steam. So it steams the ground. And then other parts of Australia get to see that precipitation. But this is huge, enormous fires. Just I'm gonna try to draw out this perimeter here because it's all in just the one day of growth. Then I'll see how actually big it is. I'm not gonna go under the clouds just in case, but here I will. All one day. As the bird flies. 47 kilometers, so it's huge. Each fire that we how do we miss this fire? We just keep getting larger, faster. One is giving us. Now let's go. Get on. Go. Close it out. Sorry about that. Yeah, there's fire burning here that's really hot underneath these clouds here. Just a sliver of smoke that we're seeing that's really thick and black. Very, very dark, sooty kind of smoke. Like this. Burned very dark. These are peaks. And they move like waves. They're burning through a valley out. around. Fire is always going to expand out. There's fuel, expand out, and it's going to continue to burn forward. Problem is though, is when you get all these other valleys that get affected by the same fire. That's when things get a little heavy. And you get these fires that move in any 6 degrees of freedom that it would want. Absolutely all the fuel that it could possibly need. Significant amount of burns of scorched earth for the last couple of days throughout Western Australia. Much more significant than I was thinking it was going to be, for sure. It even just when we were looking at it from far satellite, it didn't look like this many fires were actually burning, but while we go and look a little deeper, a closer, because each one of these is just a raceway, a track of flame. It traps in a lot of heat. Its natural corridors, barriers, dunes. These fires just go. They go really blotching, really good word for it, just rampaging around the entire area. Just oozing across the fire burns over the hills. So if you see fire, you know, when you're in these areas, you don't know how much is being, it's already burned. You think the fire passes, goes that way, that's it. No, other waves. It's not just one fire. There are dozens of fires burning in particular looked at so far. You have these little fires like this. Eventually you meet this fire. Because they're just save each other. Now these fires all along, like the ones that are north of Broome, are out. But all of east, it's the horror show. This is 41 kilometers in length, and look at that. Look at that. That is an incredible amount of fire expansion in just a few short days. This is very alarming. These fires are getting incredibly large and complex. You gotta stop calling them bushfires. They're wildfires. Wildfire season, and this thing is massive. What's gonna happen here, in between this, is the smoke's gonna mend these two fires together. And they'll be able to share each other's resources with each other as they continue to burn true. Again, the fire is going to be able to burn any direction that it wants, anywhere where there's fuel, and any type of wind we know there exists. Just keeps pummeling fires into just the most insane patterns. Right here though, I'll close this gap. all this will burn here. Have this meeting between the fires here and here and here. You're gonna have this area that's gonna fall prey to the rest of the flames. Even though that you might be safe, please take extra precaution that not within, I guess, what would you call this? A river slope away from flame. Because these fires really abuse channels, ditches, rivers, dunes, hillsides, cliffs, rocky outcrops. Pretty much anywhere where it can climb and combust and catch things on fire is going to. Because the conditions are meeting those requirements. We're seeing massive drought throughout Western Australia. That's at least 2/4 of all of Western Australia. And the other 2/4 that aren't seeing, one of those is burning. Fire, see smoke, rain from hell, and then within a day. Sorry if the date was a little obscured up there. Again, the date is up here. When we use these time lapses, the date's always going to be the top right. But 5 kilometers. Be able to capture this giant fire, this wildfire. This is very alarming. New activity. We've been covering these fires throughout August. The fire season, we've been covering these fires, and it will never cease to amaze me just how fast. Because I can't show you to scale a person on these maps. That's how small in scale you would be, and I would be in one of these areas. There's a tremendous amount of fury and power, but it's leaving behind thousands of kilometers of scorched earth and brutalized land. The wildfire, even in a controlled setting, is going to abuse the slopes of a river, and you might turn a blind eye to it. Okay, that fire's out. It's going to come right back up the other, right across, using its momentum. You see that all over the place. You see so many of these smaller fires, like up here, that eventually touch and they start sharing and accelerating each other. That's absolutely tremendous. Just within a day. That's all the information we have to go on. We don't have air quality index for Australia. We have daily satellite, which we haven't looked at yet, but I don't know if we have the time or if it would just be at all beneficial. I think we're seeing most of what in the last 2 days have been burning all over the place. Western Australia, it is staggering. All smoke here. I don't see an active fire. There it is. Two sides. Many time lapses. This is a lot of here. This is fire encircles an area that hasn't been previously burnt. I'm gonna find a way that fuel. Okay, so far no large perimeter fire that we've looked at in the last 2 days has been smaller than it was on that day that we see on satellite, because we're not seeing or an escalation of flames that just going left to right, burning alongside. We're just seeing this huge blot of flame, massive. However it started and however it went, so many different directions. Huge. Managing a fire like that, there are 4 other large scale perimeter fires just adjacent to it in river systems. Try to put it out and it's just rolling hills, spiraling flame. Right here. This has a good chance of meeting the other fire. Not good. Take a look at this time lapse of these bushfires. See, for the whole month there's nothing, and then one day is just an explosion of activity. This I haven't seen yet in some time. It happened in Northern Territory, Australia, where there's a lot of severe fires that were burning and putting a lot of carbon monoxide in the air. And but these are legit fires just burning that are dozens and dozens of square kilometers perimeters, but they're also burning 70 kilometers east that way, pretty much like an arm that would just come out, reach across. With the help of a river system like this, it's burnt areas all along here. Too many fires. Threatening amount of fire. There's so much fire, like I don't even know if I can get to Bolivia at this point. Really aggressive fire expansion. Let me check my other note. Right. Still Western Australia, but these really dense areas here, all the brush is burning, significantly darker. Take a look at a time lapse of just this area. From the 1st to the 6th, just massive, massive, massive expansion. Probably abuse this river system here, allowing it to spread. And one hell of a gust of wind will drive this flame like and just skirt it. Just literally just flurry of flame will just spiral out of control, burning everything it touches. Since there's so much drought and a continuing drought because fire moisture drives away, evaporates it, generates it, however it gets to it, but it wants to get away. So you're gonna get a lot of these areas that are very prone to very, very large wildfires soon as they pick up. We're seeing 9 or 10. I think one was a repeat. So far, everything else we've been seeing is pretty much bam. First, the third, 6, almost nothing to scorched earth everywhere. A lot of little fires burning, still burning. Even though they might look like they're low, they might look like the fires are only burning these areas, but this is 23 kilometers, so these two fires move less than 23 kilometers and they'll meet. These two fires, less than 23 kilometers, they'll meet. These two fires, and since it's over a river, it can go out this way. And then this whole area. Whole area. Before I wrap things up, just gonna look at South Australia on the northwest tip. There. Now those are wildfires. Number of blazes here. That's heading to South Australia. So besides New South Wales, Australian Capital Territory, it looks like there's going to be fire every in every state, especially fast-moving fires that are putting up a lot of billowing black smoke. Really troubling. Because it's you see like a 40-kilometer plume, thick smoke. There's some raging inferno beyond it, just beyond it. This is all smoke here. All smoke here by the Undot Jaro community. Very strange looking. Oh yeah, up here. You can see the layers and the rings. Each smoke is disconnected from the rest of its plume and starts a new plume. You'll see that. This is just there's smoke and fire. Smoke. Fire. It's everywhere. So these eventually meet up with each other and become these thick mega fires that just I don't know, especially with some of these blazes that start up right before nightfall. You know, you have these little tiny windows to act. And it's difficult to reach areas. Like this is madness. That's an airport, Nicholson Airport. Let's just say Nichols Airport and Kirkcaldy Station Airport are both lost. Is that breaking news? These don't look like they're airports anymore. look like they've been gutted by fire, possibly. I don't see how something says it's an airport and just looks completely engulfed in flames. Airport are an indicator of human growth, expansion, potential in areas. Losing airports in an area that you would need aerial firefighting, smoke jumpers, however the help gets there. These flames are burning increasingly. Like, you see, this is what I mean. You'll have one fire that suddenly just goes, that just does what, 30 kilometer on its phone. And that fire, what? What is that? Oh my. Okay, wait a minute. This fire is moving here. Use this elbow here. This is sick. Two possible explosions here. Expansion. How much? "26 kilometers in." This is a very strange fire line. This looks like fuse, was lit. That it just, the way it just. That's two possible airports. One very possible airport that might have gotten marred and gutted by fire. Like, there's fire raging all over the place, and since these wildfires can move at so many hundreds of kilometers, almost just in a few short days. By the time that you think you're done fighting a fire, it's still actually expanding and growing every direction outside of you. These, not all of them put out the same amount of smoke or the same signs. There tend to be a lot of complicated fires that are burning in Australia. It needs rain. It got some rain, but it was just South Wales and Queensland area, which they needed rain badly. These fires, they'll meet take a look. Use NOAA 20. Just the bands. You can see all the fire real quick. Enormous. You see that here? And all this gets burned. Burned. Yeah, X's are actually for burns, not what's going to be burned. See the smoke. Smoke gives it stepstone way, pathway. Fires allowed to be hotter. Pulls over a blanket. Causes a lot of heat to be trapped underneath the smoke, and the fires to be able to burn hotter and brighter. All these little fires end up meant together and start not a mega fire, nothing that big of that nature yet. But you've seen a lot in the Northern Territory, fires that just don't die. They're zombies. Pieces of them just seem to outlast and just keep coming back and cycling through the areas again and already covered. But these fires are new. These aren't fires that we're just covering again. Not fires that have been burning there. No, they're brand new fires that are still burning in particular patterns based on. But when you start getting all this dirt wind, all this smoky wind from Queensland and two Gulfs up here, you're not getting a lot of fresh air that's cycled out of the area. Especially in Western Australia now, a lot of smoke buildup. It's this is not incredible, but very alarming. Oh, this is all fire, 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 fire. Oh my god, okay, Western Australia is going to have a really bad week. There's no modern human way of putting out these fires. There's nothing that can be done. Fires that would take hundreds of people, heavy equipment that just can't reach some. Down south. That is one long call. 46 kilometers. Yeah, this is southeast of Perth. That is not where you would want to see a fire right now. Not. Possible other fires that are burning south side of Western Australia. Here. Smoke. Could be from field burning, farming, agricultural burns, which don't burn your burn the land again. Fire isn't going to kill what you think is making it stick. Seen that way too much here. It's unprecedented. Still in Western Australia, let's cross over to South Australia. Head north into Alice Springs. Alice Springs is absolutely threatened by fire. There seems to be a pretty large, the northeast flank. Alice Springs, right here. We have the airport. But there is some bushfire behavior around these areas. Everyone another point of fire. Alice Springs is in serious trouble. Coupled with the fact that there is no air quality index station, since there's nothing to go off in almost the entire continent of Australia. South Australia, Western Australia, and Northern Territory are huge and expansive. They have virtually no air quality sensors anywhere while they enter wildfire season and all. We would have seen some really alarming numbers. Instead, we're just going to see the alarming numbers other ways manifest itself, either by smoke inhalation causing more hazard breathing in the air. The smoke is thick, it might not look it, but it's there and there's a lot of it. And as the smoke from the warmer side of Australia meets the southern side, that air is going to be significantly weaker. It's going to start falling down. Especially if it goes over the water is going to be significantly cooler than the land. It's going to start falling down. Rather it fall into the water than into city or community. Alice Springs is right on the edge of it. Zoom in, see, we can see Alice Springs. So here we have Alice Springs. This looks like it's closer to not Brisbane, the city close to Brisbane. Fire got really close up to, I think it was Toowoomba. This fire right here is up this road, and that is dangerously close to the actual city itself. Right here, next. Can't imagine people here are unaware of the fire. They definitely are. But I just haven't seen much news regarding these fires that are just right behind Alice Springs. All burnt land here. Let's take a time lapse. Alice Springs, west and north and south of it. Virtually nothing. Nothing. Oh, we can actually see it. Step here. Here's the fourth. Here's the fourth. And then fourth too. And we go to the sixth. Out of that. So and bird flies 35 kilometers. So think of this, it was a wildfire run, that was a wildfire run, wildfire run. Start seeing how these fires that just start burning in one direction meet up quickly, too quickly to notice that there are dozens of fires that are meeting up, becoming major fires. It's not just a front of fire that's constantly burning, but there's so many other factors that are playing into this flame just getting ahead of everything. And already seeing fire down here, this looks like an airport. that is burned. Stewart Highway. Airport's over here by Alice Springs Airport. So, a lot of very terrible fire, burning. It's all been here over the last couple. So it's pretty extreme. All right. Well, that is, I think, burning on the north side too. Massive fires. Not going to say I'm all caught up because there just seems to be fire everywhere I try to look. More fire than there is I possibly could have thought. These little burn patches like this, mustaches. Then wispy, wavy line across sandy dunes. Spectacular and fearsome. Fires are, I don't want to say they're burning out of control because they're quite in control of the way they've been burning. There is another round of wildfires coming west, Northern Territory. Air should be pretty hazardous throughout Western Australia, Northern Territory. Queensland might see some reprieve, but I don't see the air quality getting any better in Western Australia and Northern Territory. That is all the time I have for tonight. Thank you for watching, for listening. Please like and subscribe, it really helps me out a lot.